Well, what is up, guys? So today I thought I would talk Dovetail Games' Train Sim World 5 and some of the things that I should say are on my wish list for the game. Obviously, some of the things I would love to see Dovetail Games introduce into the game that we haven't seen yet. So the first thing I would say on my list is an expansion the to the West Coast mainline route with the Hearts 390 Pendolino. I think that an expansion to that route would be awesome. Maybe expanding that route to, Birmingham New Street or to Manchester Piccadilly would be, pretty good. Hear me out. I don't think the West Coast mainline route is is an awful route. I don't think it's a bad route. It's a pretty decent route. And it's cool to obviously have the Pendolino in the game, but I feel like you can't really get the best out of that experience. Because for me, it's just not long enough. It's a route that you can get done fairly quickly in the Pendolino. That's the only problem. And I think that an expansion to the route, it would just be better really to have that expansion to, somewhere like Birmingham New Street or to Manchester Piccadilly. I think that would be a really good thing for Dovetail Games to look at. And I can't see it being something that would be impossible for Dovetail Games to be able to do. I think Dovetail Games could easily do it. And I think if there was, enough fan interest in wanting to see the route expanded, maybe Dovetail Games would expand it. But I think maybe I don't know if they would expand it, if they might not think people would want that route extended. Maybe people are happy with the route being the length that it is, and that it is maybe some people think that if it was expanded to Piccadilly or to Birmingham New Street, it would be too long, but I think that would be a perfect length. So next up for the wish list is another London Underground route. Now we have had a London Underground route with Train Sim World 2, that being the Bakerloo line. And since then we haven't had another London Underground route yet, and I think it's about time that we got one. Maybe the Victoria line, maybe the Piccadilly line, maybe it would be maybe it could do Central Line, maybe it could do Northern Line. It would be really cool if we had another London Underground route in the game. It doesn't matter, to be honest, it won't really matter. It's definitely not the Waterloo City Line. It's you can't see them adding a route in that game when it only goes between two stations and it would take less than 5 minutes to complete. There's no point. Add something like the Central Line or the Piccadilly or something like that. Would be cool to see another London Underground route added into Train Sim World Train Sim World 5, or possibly into Train Sim World 6, which will undoubtedly be released in September next year. So moving on, we have the additions of so obviously we're getting a second London Overground route. With the London Mild Main Line, that's a route that's going to be coming out in the new year, so it looks good. One of the routes that I probably will pick up for Dovetail. The thing is with Dovetail Games, I don't agree with the amount of money that they charge for route DLCs. I think 32 quid. It's just too much. I think 20 quid would be fair enough for a route DLC. Oh god. Like a route DLC, I think that would be fair enough. But they don't need to be charging any more than 20 quid for a route DLC. Come on, Dovetail, what are you thinking? And I think that's why people, a lot of people hate on Dovetail. It's purely because of the money that they're charging people for DLCs and things like that. It's just ridiculous, really, to think about it. What warrants £32 for a DLC pack anyway? I don't think it really warrants that. So then, obviously, one of the other things on my wish list is the inclusions of either the 222 Meridian or either the 222 Meridian or the 221 Voyager. That would be a nice locomotive to have in the game. either the 221 Voyager or the 222 Meridian. I mean, wouldn't it be interesting if we had that route in the game? I mean, well, I had that Loto in the game. And the thing is with the 222 Meridian or the 221 Voyager, they wouldn't actually have to add a new route into the game because they had had that Loto with the existing Midland mainline route that we already have in the game. I mean, so it's like they wouldn't necessarily have to add new routes into the game. I've seen a lot of people talking about, what the things that they would love to see in, Train Sim World 5 or in future iterations of the Train Sim World series. I mean, some of them feel a lot more realistic than others do. Like there's some, well, get away from me. There are some that certainly feel a lot more realistic than others do. I think the problem you've got to think about with Dovetail is that one of the things they tend to struggle with is getting the licenses for certain routes and stuff in the game, and that is why you always have to bear in mind that, the route that you want to see may never necessarily be added in. It's just, it comes down to licensing, to be honest, and I think I mean, it's a shame to think that Dovetail games can't always get the necessary licenses. I mean, the trouble they had over the summer when they basically lost the licensing for LNWR, and I don't know if they'll be getting that, back. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I don't think. I mean, obviously, it would be also have like an SWR route in the game. Like, the problem is, it would be getting the licensing for the SWR. The SWR branding, I guess you could say. Because I remember when they brought out the Island Line DLC for, I think it was Train Sim World 2 towards the tail end of its run. It was either Train Sim World 2 or Train Sim World 3. I think it might have been Train Sim World 2 that the Island Line 2022 DLC came out, like the more kind of updated version with the I don't remember the old D stock trains for the London Underground. That's what you refer to them as. I think there's if I remember correctly, I think it might be the 484. I think something like that. But obviously they couldn't get the licensing for the SWR branding, so the locomotive was in generic branding. I think they got the licensing for it, but I mean, there are so many things I'd love to see with Dovetail games, an SWR route, maybe in like an updated version of the GWR. I know that we are getting an updated version of the GWR. I mean, maybe expanding some routes would be nice. As I said, when it comes to route expansions, I would say that the WCML mainline route is one that I would say I think it would benefit from being expanded. I think it would players. I think players would have like a better experience with the route. I mean, it would give us more. I think you'd be able to experience, it would give us a better experience with the 390. Because as I said, that's my only kind of downside to the route at the moment. Is I just don't, for me personally, I don't feel like the route is long enough. That was one of my only, and it has been one of my only concerns regarding the WCMO route since Train Sim World 5 came out in September, is that the WCML route just isn't, for me personally, I feel like it's not long enough. Like, I feel like it needs to be longer. And I feel like, Dovetail could do with, expanding it and making the route longer, so, I think it'd be more fun if it was a little bit longer, I mean, I'm not saying that, that Train Sim World 5 is an awful game. I have enjoyed some of the experiences I've had with the game. I think it's pretty fun to play at times. You know, I like some of the new features that have been added into the game this year. I think there's been some pretty decent improvements made. You know, you can't fault. I mean, you can't really fault Dovetail for the changes they've made, and the improvements they've made over the past few days and over the past few months of Train Sim World 5. I think Train Sim World 5 is a game that has a lot of potential. As I said, there is that kind of stumbling block to a lot of routes being added in and things like that is the licensing. You know, Dovetail games often struggle to obtain the necessary licenses that they need to obtain. They can't always get them. And that's one of the things that I think does impact Dovetail games, is being able to get the licenses to kind of have certain routes in the game. I mean, wouldn't it be, it would be cool if we had an SWR route in the game. It would be cool if we had a route with the Northern Transpennine route and a TPR route, like the Northern Transpennine route in the game. But, it's about it's about Dovetail games being able to get the licenses to have those things in the game, because they can't, it's one of the things that, Dovetail games can't always do. They can't always get the licenses that are required to be able to have these routes in the game. As much as people would love to see them in the game, people have to face facts that it might not happen, because Dovetail games might not be able to get the necessary licenses for that, and I think, there are so many things they could add in, like so many different routes they could add in, that we've never seen yet. We haven't seen yet in Dovetail in a Train Sim World game, but it's about them being able to get the licenses for those routes, and it's not always easy for Dovetail games. I feel like some people think that it's very straightforward for Dovetail games to be able to actually get the licenses for these routes in the game, but it's not always that straightforward. And people need to remember that. People need to remember that it's not always as straightforward, as obviously as we'd like it to be, but it's just one of those things. Like, it's not, it's not an issue, but yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes Dovetail games don't get the licenses for the certain routes that we'd love to see in the game, but as I said, expansion to WCML would make, if they expanded that route, I would be very happy, to be honest. As I feel like that route desperately needs to be expanded. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this short little my short thoughts on Train Sim World 5, and what I think should be added into the game. They should definitely look into adding the 221 Voyager or 222 Meridian. I think that would be, I feel like that locomotive those locomotives have to be added into the game, because it feels like, and as I said, they wouldn't have to necessarily even add a new route to add those locomotives. It'd add them to the already existing Midland Main Line route that we already have in the game. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, maybe in future iterations, these sorts of things will be added into the game and implemented into the game, and I think it would be cool if they were. Only time will tell about what sort of licenses Dovetail will be able to get, but we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the DLCs that are coming out in the new year. I think some of them look good. I'll definitely be looking at buying the new London Mildmay route when that comes out. And we'll see what happens. I'll probably do a review on that route when it comes out. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you for another one soon. Bye bye.